What's happening, everybody? Ian Walsh, Hard Money Bankers, joined with my partner, Ryan Walsh. Whoa.
Yo. Whoa.
There we go.
Now you can see.
Glasses weren't on. I was instantly 30 IQ points dumber.
Now we can hear you say.
Yeah. So my partner here, Ryan. Ryan, what's going on?
There. Does that work for me too?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're smarter. Yeah. You kind of look more like a pilot or a gamer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. These things.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously this situation is still up in the air with the markets, right? So, for all those following, we've been talking about, so we were doing a show last quarter that kind of went over, we were following the Evergrande move from back in September and all these things setting up like supply chain and debt ceiling and Fed printing and, polar vortex, all these things that were coming up. Evergrande. So these things we were a little premature in our call, and we started to call at the end of last quarter as the market, kind of got to new highs. We said this stuff hasn't really been dealt with, and it has to be dealt with in order to be resolved. So we started to put it together and said, what, this could be a bloodbath quarter one. So Ryan, I believe, has found the clip, just so anybody that I'm sure everybody went back and through like thousands of hours of videos to find the clip as well. But if you didn't, Ryan has it here, right? If you want to put your screen up, if you want to play that clip for everybody.
Thanks for finding this for us, Jamie. All right. So here we go. Let me know if you can, hopefully we can hear it.
People start, but we've been talking about this now for 2 months. So as it starts to hit, it's just a slow process. Like it's just a slow unfolding. And I say slow, I mean like over a few months. When you look back, you're like, that happened really quick. It's like a crazy echo, right?
Yeah, I mean, I that's why I keep saying it. We're going to keep doing this show until that issue is resolved, because what's going to happen is those prices keep going up. Right now, everyone, you're seeing it. You can make funny posts on Facebook because you're assuming it's going to be gone and resolved in like another month or two.
Yeah, right.
But once, like, you haven't adjusted your budget yet, right? It's people who are like, man, okay, well, since I got to spend $15 on milk here, maybe I'll spend $5 less on soda, right? But it's still not enough to upset people's lifestyles. But you do this for a couple months, and it's not going away. And now all those things that like you wanted to get before, you can't get. Now you're starting to get pissed off, right? It's got to get resolved. If it doesn't get resolved, I think 2022 is going to be real interesting unless.
Oh yeah, wait, I didn't put that up yet. That was good.
2022, part 2. And Chris, we are actually sharing kind of what you were saying with quarter 4 might still have okay reports here, but Q1, he just put it. Q1 2022 is going to be, in his words, a shit show, right? A bloodbath. I think at this current trajectory, with what's going on with supply chain and inflation, it's going to come to a head around that timeline. Okay, so there you have it.
That's it's real. It was said, it's documented now, and everybody can recognize the fact that all that says is we were projecting that this could happen, and there's still nothing we can do about it.
And perfect timing. So the buddy who we were just talking about, Chris, is 2022. What a year! What a shit show! Q1 bloodbath as predicted. I mean, talk about timing. That was the most meta video we have ever done. The video of us watching that. Wow. And I didn't even tell Chris we were going to do this. He just happens to be watching right now. Comes in at the perfect timing and starts making those comments as that video is playing. I mean,
the Oracle. Should we just call him like the guest everywhere. Oracle?
Yes,
the guest Oracle.
The Oracle has spoken. He knew we were going to do it. I didn't have to tell him. He knew we were going to do that. So
yeah, right, exactly. He knew we were doing the show before we knew we were doing the show. So anyways, I mean, that's where we are right now. If you want to bring up my, I don't know if you have my screen on yours, Ryan.
Yep, you're good to go.
So this is the 30-minute chart in the Dow, and you can see this kind of goes probably, I don't know, the beginning or mid-January. I kind of drew all over it already. But this is like the mid-January downtrend right here that you're just kind of seeing on the 30-minute timeline. The reason I took the 30-minute timeline is because yesterday, after that huge sell-off that scared everybody, there was this bar that showed up. And that doesn't, you're like, oh, it's just a candle. Well, kind of, because that candle is the biggest up move I have ever seen. I can remember seeing potentially in my entire trading career in that short a time frame. There's one time there was a flash crash in like 2012 or something. They said somebody fat fingered a key. It was the stupidest excuse ever. But in like 3 minutes, it dropped like 600 points or something, and then it went right back up. It was just, I don't even know what it was. Somebody wanted to just steal some money, and they did. So, but this, as far as like a legitimate move, it was a huge rally yesterday. So my thought was, okay, great, we've won the war. You know, the Ukraine war's over. We won. Fantastic. Everybody go home now. It's like, well, wait a minute. That's not what happened. So with the biggest up move we've seen in I don't know how many years in that time frame, the question goes, well, what happens with that up move? You know, you have to see follow through, because if that's a statement, that's a statement. And as of this morning, that was completely swallowed in 30 minutes back down. So right now, the Bears are so much in control of this market that it's not even funny. Not that it was funny to begin with, but that's the only stupid phrase I could think of. So I don't, we still have not been told what is going on. The Ukraine war is not what's happening here. If I had to take it on it, like I was thinking about this last night. So I'm looking at this and saying, okay, the Fed has been artificially inflating our economy for years now. And if they're going to start pulling money out of the market, I think they're figuring out how much can they pull at a time, right? Because they say they're pulling out, I don't know, whatever, $1 trillion a month, let's say. Well, they don't pull it out on the first of the month. They have to kind of like balance this up and down. They have to move it up, move it down, or else they would just collapse out on the first of the month every month until it reaches back to where it's supposed to be. So I look at this and say this is like a hormone for the markets, right? So if you take a hormone and you artificially give it a synthetic hormone in your body, you can suppress that hormone. And that means that your body will no longer produce that hormone on its own. It'll be completely suppressed. And when it's suppressed, it's just being artificially inflated or synthetically inflated. Well, this is a hormone for the markets, is what the, call it testosterone for the markets, is what the Fed was. So the Fed was just artificially inflating. They basically just said, it doesn't matter anymore what your natural process is, what the trading and what reports and earnings and all that means. That's the natural process of the market. We're just going to keep injecting it with testosterone. And the testosterone was money. Well, now when they're going, okay, we've been doing this for a long time and your body's not used to making this hormone anymore. The market is not used to operating on its own. So as we pull the hormone away, it gets pretty volatile, right? Your body goes, whoa, what's going on? So, and you don't just necessarily take the whole hormone off the table. You got to kind of figure, okay, what are my levels at now? All right, let's put a little bit more back in before we take more out. And you're trying to refine. They're basically looking for, okay, we're going to start pulling the money, but we need to find where the natural process of the market starts to take over and reestablish itself. And the question then becomes, can they pull that off? Because if you suppress a hormone in your body long enough, it will never produce again, or it'll completely crash down to a level that's going to, So I think they're trying to find where the market will take back over, because for a long time, traders have been like, this thing is overcooked. So nobody's stepping in. Like nobody's stepping in at the highs to go, yeah, I'll buy some more. Like nobody of any kind of weight and substance. So like there's tons of traders right now that are like, yeah, my natural levels in this market are like Dow 20,000, Dow 18,000, Dow 12,000. So I think the Fed is trying to establish where the hormones will kick back in for the market. That is my theory. And along the way, they're going to use some news to make other people a lot of money. What do you think, Ray?
I mean, it's a good analogy that you just put together there. But I mean, it depends on what they want to do, right? Like, we don't know their long game plan here. To go down in conspiracy alley here, I think they want to turn it into the digital dollar. So they're just going to let it go. And, because the Fed doesn't want to give up control, and they know if things are going into the digital world, they're going to want their hands on it. So that's just my, long-term play. But what you just said is all about what's happening to a normal market. And I don't think it is a normal market, because I think it's so controlled that like it's whatever they want to happen, right? That's the game we're playing.
Yeah, normal market would be defined as like supply and demand without interference.
Right.
Supply actually meeting real supply, meeting real demand without interference. So, meaning me and you are playing the market, and if you want to buy, you buy. But there's an outside influence, which is enormous, which is completely deflates the whole purpose of what a market really is.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to what we were saying, I'm like, you got inflation, supply chain, you got Evergrande, polar vortexes, right? None of that's been resolved, right? Like nothing's changed. We're just seeing what the market probably should have done months ago, but the using your analogy there, the hormone pumping kept it from happening. So, like the issues are still there. None of them have been resolved, and I think this is where you see something major happen. We had people on the show yesterday saying, war, like that is how far they'll go to turn. Like China's market's hurting. If the U.S. market shows it's starting to hurt, like I don't know, war to me seems like an easy answer out.
I think you need a pretty big war though to take it out. Like you can't do an Afghanistan, Iraq situation anymore. You need like a pretty big thing to happen, because war used to. So the way they used to use war in general to take people's minds out of, the market or whatever was, in World War II, you could actually stimulate the economy by making missiles and like, bombs and metal and stuff like that. Or
going jobs, things like that.
Jobs, yeah. So like stimulated the economy. That's no longer the case as to what war does, other than it just creates, first of all, it's ridiculous. War is ridiculous in general, but it just creates like a distraction for people's mind, or a justification in people's minds. It's no longer an economy stimulant. So I don't know that war takes us out of anything, honestly.
I agree. I do know the Olympics are coming up though. So, if something crazy happens, then I think it's bait.
Yeah. Who knows? So I think the next obvious move, not obvious, but possible move or whatever is, I agree with you. It's the digital currency situation. I'm curious to know how they can implement that. How, I guess, you could sit in a bear market for years. Like you don't have, a bear market doesn't just go down for like, we've only seen like a bear market for like a month to maybe back to the trade wars during Trump. It was like 3 or 4 months. It was like a bearish market, but like nothing that anybody ever really recognized. Even COVID was like just a few months. But you could sit in a bear market for years. Even Japan, like decades, sitting in a bear market when their economy overfloated or overstimulated. So, they don't really have to get the digital dollar in a
tomorrow
speedy
kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and in fact, they can like really drag that out to the point where it's like, people are hurting for a long time, and they're like,
do anything. I don't care. Just try something.
Yeah, just try something. We'll do it, or people don't have any money. So who cares if you put the digital dollar in place? Because at that point, people are just like, what's money worth anyway? We need money to be worth something. So let's just try this digital dollar. Fine. We submit, we'll do it. Like this doesn't have to happen overnight. It can beat you up for a while before that happens. So it could be like 2 years. So I don't know. You'll have to dig this clip up in 2 years to say that that's what we saw here. I still wonder, I still think about, no matter what I've noticed, as a market goes up, like everybody's always saying, like even at the best times in the market, people are like always talking about how hard life is, and it's like, I realize it doesn't really matter where you are in the market, whether you're at the bottom or the top, people will always say how hard life is. I think honestly though, I think what happens is we look back at this like 20-year run, and I think this was like the golden era of society. The true introduction of the unfiltered internet. Once upon a time, the internet was like completely unfiltered. It was just like raw information that anybody could have access to. And then, there was like, there could be, it's all relative, right? You're like, remember that? If you think back, let's say 5 years from now, you don't have half the things you have. Let's say the whole world is different. And you go, man, remember when you could just get up at like 9 o'clock and go do a TV show in your basement, and remember those times? You're like, well, that doesn't sound Now that sounds like, whatever. But like you might be looking at that in 5 years and be like, wow, I'd give anything to go back to that moment. So I think we actually potentially may have seen the golden era of modern society, or as we know it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has to go on for at least like another month, maybe two, before those comments like start sitting in as a reality. I think yeah. I mean,
probably longer than that, probably more like 6 months or a year, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when the 2008 crash happened, on Time Magazine, there was an article about how a guy distributed America, saying Alaska is going to go to Russia, U.S. or California is going to be part of like Mexico government, like, and this was on a major magazine, right? Like Time Magazine. So like when things get that bad, that is where people's minds go, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely, and it's possible too, if things didn't turn around, like, yeah, I guess it could have gone there because it has happened to other countries, right? Like America will probably, for better or for worse, always have the we are unbreakable mentality because it's worked for us for like 250 years. But at some point it'll be wrong. I hope I'm not around for it, but it could be this, right?
Yeah, and I don't even think it's like, I really think it's like New World Order in terms of like the I think everybody comes together as one giant world country, because at this point, like, war is kind of silly. Like, war is like, look, we have 1,000 nukes and you have 2,000 nukes. Like, it takes 3 nukes and it's all over anyway, right? So it's like, what's the like? It used to be about, we used to say, the United States technologically was so much further advanced than other, and I guess like our Navy or our water ships are more potent than, our Navy is more potent, or our Air Force is more potent than others in the world. But at the same time,
Afghanistan, sure.
Yeah, and even China or Russia were supposed to be significantly.
Yeah, but tougher. Still, like if you were to go to a one-on-one war, like the technology kind of evens the grounds a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You just escalate it to like, cool, I'll just send over like 1,000 drones.
Right.
Like it's not like Top Gun anymore, where like Tom Cruise, you have like Tom Cruise and the other guy has like, Mo, Larry, and Curly, and they're like, it doesn't.
Right.
It's not like that anymore. So I don't. I think you're looking at a one world situation, and I don't know. Everybody's been talking about that in the conspiracy world for
20 years. 9/11, right? That was like the height of it.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do though. What are you gonna do?
So to Chris, our oracle, joke's on you. My pinnacle of society will be in the metaverse on my throne of NFTs. How true that is. What is the metaverse going to do to all this?
Oh my gosh.
It's literally the Matrix.
Yeah, the little. You just have to use consciousness assisted technology to actually put yourself in the digital body that you can feel it, because you still live the life that you're in otherwise. But yeah, we haven't even talked about NFTs. You know what we should talk about though is, so right now, Canada's like heavy in the mandates, like they're like heavier than the US and like the vax mandates and all that stuff, and like masks and all the right. So right now there's actually like a 50-mile long truck brigade going to Canada's like capital, and they're going to post up and sit there until the mandates are removed. And I was like, that's like 1,000 trucks. That's a lot. That is not a small venture. Like, that's a pretty substantial move. Would you imagine if there was like a
50-truck barricade around like DC?
Oh my gosh.
Capital?
Right. They all just drove up 1,000 trucks. That's just parked. Just parked. And you could, like, you think about that, you're like, well, they can definitely last, right? Because trucks are built with like cabins in the bed, like, they have beds, and they've raised $3.5 million so far. Food, water, like, they've got what they need to sit there for a very long time. I wonder if this doesn't become, if there's military intervention, if
not from Canada.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, really, Canada? This is your stand? Like, this is your mark? I was like, this is how you're going to do it. This
basically is a civil war for Canada.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is. I mean, they're just a little bit less nice to each other. That's what it is. They have like the super nice and a little bit less than super nice. But of all the things for Canada to like come on, this, like just
I want to see how this plays out. I have not heard about it. This is the first I heard about it. I want to see how it plays
out. As of yesterday, the drive was happening, so they were already it was 70 kilometers long of a trucking.
Maybe that's what's crashing the market, Canada, all along. Oh my gosh!
Could you imagine? They'd be so happy if they realized they had that kind of power. They just would be so happy. So anyways, that's something to keep an eye on in terms of what that can pull, because that's not something, it's not like a, what is it? Like so they had the mandate rally in DC on Sunday. So like 500,000 people went to DC to fight the mandates, and they rallied, and that's a lot of people. That's a ton actually, but it's still like rallies and protests that you see. Whereas like the physical, it's so physically imposing to have 1,000 trucks sitting in the Capitol that it becomes like you got to see this. You got to see this. It's not like a protest where it's like, oh man, they're protesting. It's like 1,000 trucks, who knows? There could be more joining. I don't know. But I think it's very interesting to see what they make of that. But it's also, in my opinion, very easy to, not easy, but like, let's say you have military intervention, right? They're not, I don't know how many other people are going to this event, but let's say there's not. Let's say there's one trucker per truck. That's 1,000 people they have to like control. That's not really that hard, right? So they all have trucks, but it's 1,000 people.
True. I mean, you're not gonna be able to tow 1,000 trucks. I don't know.
No.
I want to see what happens here. I'm really interested. I hope it stays peaceful.
I'm super curious. Yeah, I'm super curious.
I mean, what do you do if it's disrupting like the people of that area, like their food and water? Like,
I'm sure it's going to. It has to.
Yeah, so you might argue they have to forcefully intervene.
They're going to say, yeah, that it's emergency. I mean, which is, that's the government. That's how a government stays in power, right? They have guns. That's the way. That's how it works.
Yep.
So are they going to make that stand against their own people? Like that's kind of, but they're going to declare it for national safety. I don't know, but I think it's very interesting to watch. So keep your eye on the Canada trucking line.
Wow. All right.
Sounds good. We'll pick it up again tomorrow and see if I think before the end of this week, I'm not going to say that the Dow 30,000 is out of reach. Just saying it.
Man, that's yep. We'll
where are we right now? I don't have it in front of me, right? But I know last I checked, we'd already swallowed this bar up.
I believe it's I could check. It's 3,300 and 500. So 33.5.
33.5. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say 30,000 is not out of reach.
No, we're at 34,000 right now. So it looks like it's rallying a little bit here.
Yeah. Bounced. Okay. That'd be a big double bottom if they're trying to make a double bottom. It'd be a huge pivot. Yeah, maybe not by the end of the week. Maybe by the end of like next week, because it's gonna take. I don't know. We'll see. But at this point, you can have 1,000. I mean, 2 800-point days, and we're flirting with it. So
I mean, our show started 23 minutes ago, and the rebound started 23 minutes ago. So I'm just saying, there's a strong correlation.
Oh, that's true.
Our show and the market.
That's true. So I'm going to apologize when we get off here because the market's about to tank. Sorry. All right, cool. Tomorrow.
See you.
See you.